Hey guys, Camfrey15 back out with another video for you guys, back with another One Piece anime episode review for you guys. Apologies for having another delay in the episodes, but honestly, two episodes and one video, I don't think honestly it's bad enough to complain. Again, if you're wondering, why I'm not talking so loud. I'm in my own home, and clearly, with me being in my own home, this late at night, because I'm recording this at 11:21 p.m. Most of my family members are asleep. I do not want to disturb them, so I'm gonna be talking a little bit monotone, right? But yes, I know I like to talk a lot crazy and get a little bit loud and everything, but hey, I'm gonna talk monotone. I'm gonna be okay. I'm fine, right? So, all right, One Piece, and anyways, the episodes we're talking about is One Piece anime episode 1129 and then 1130, which these two episodes start off the Kuma backstory, the Bartholomew Kuma backstory, which, in my personal opinion, after reading it in the manga, I think hands down it's probably the saddest and the most fucked up One Piece story, backstory in the entire series up to this point. And I know we've had many backstories where they are effed up when it surrounds these characters in their past and their upbringing to where they're the characters they are today. And there's been a lot of sad, emotional, effed up storylines that have happened. But up until this point in the One Piece story, I think Kuma's had the most effed up and the most tragic slash most emotional and saddest backstory that we have seen from any One Piece character yet. Now, for my anime onlys, you'll see as it progresses. Obviously, if you watched episode 1000, 1129, you see like how effed up this, like how it can get, right? Now episode 1130, albeit the beginning is still a little bit tragic and everything, you do get some happy moments here and there, right? But then eventually, with One Piece, you're gonna have your little stretch where you're gonna get a nice happy moment of the backstory, and then it's gonna get all the way to dog shit, and then it's just gonna be just bad for the character and everything. And you're just like, man, if only this one point in the backstory changed, things would be happy-go-lucky, right? But again, anime onlys, you'll see how effed up the Kuma backstory is, and you may have the same sentiments as me. You may believe like it is the most effed up slash most saddest slash tragic backstory that we've got in the One Piece storyline. Some people may differ and they have their own opinions. Again, you're all entitled to your own opinions. Just as much as my opinion is, I think this is the saddest, most tragic, most effed up backstory in all the One Piece characters until further notice. That's the thing right then and there. So, yes. But anyways, um, we have it to where, um, we started the episode off actually in the present before we get to the flashback, right? So if you remember from, at the end of episode 1128, Bonnie saw, Saturn, who just, landed on the island and everything, and it's this gigantic ass spider fucking monster, right? And Bonnie at the end of that episode basically came in and was a saw him and just rage overflowed, because at this point in time, she's seen the entire backstory of her father, Kuma. She knows what happened. She knows the truth, and it makes justifiable sense why she attacked Saturn. Now, her plan wasn't the exact brightest because one, we see that the attack barely did any damage to Saturn, and two, we see like he instantly re-healed the stab wound that he got, like instantly. So this dude is dangerous. This dude is dangerous. So this guy, you know, you have to basically we don't know how much you can damage him, right? You know, and I'll also talk about it in the episode 1130. But the fact that this dude took basically an impaled attack and he basically um healed himself, held that damage up within a quick, like it was that quick of a freaking second. And it just goes to show you like one of the five elders, this he's not a joke. Like this is a guy you probably do not want to fuck with when he finally getting serious. And he's in this mode where he's serious, right? So that's the thing right then and there. Now he's holding Bonnie, right? And he's like and Bonnie's just like Saturn, and she's giving him this disgusting look because obviously, like you did, because she knows that he has some clear backstory with Kuma, and she's upset with him about that. And basically, when you have the other Marines who actually are able to see him, right, are just like, all right, prepare your guns. And basically, Saturn's like, look, you can stand down for now. The only ones you need to point your guns at is being, Sanji. He tries to get involved to save Bonnie, but, Saturn looks at this guy. Saturn looks at Sanji, right? And at first he does it to Bonnie, knocking Bonnie out, right? Um, and he does it to Sanji too. And it's like gives this glare or this stare, right? And completely knocks them down like it's some sort of like you he has this vision where it's like and then it's like boom, not something like that. you know and it's crazy, and he basically holds Bonnie up and he's like, Marines, get your guns ready. It's time to show you, it's time to end this person's life right then and there. He also tries to go after Luffy to kill Luffy, but Frankie gets in the way, blocking Luffy and grabbing Luffy and everything, and throwing Luffy away. Now he also too, um, Saturn does talk to Kizaru and he's like, Kizaru, you ain't looking too good over there. What the hell happened with you? And Kizaru's like, he's holding his head and he's like, listen, man, just give me a moment. I'm just not feeling good right now, but I need a break. Give me like 10 or something like that, and then I'll be ready to go. So clearly the move that Luffy used, which was a Gum Gum Star Gun, it actually, it didn't put Kizaru down for the count. He's clearly conscious. But the fact that he stunned Kizaru to the point like Kizaru's like, hey man, give me about 10, 15 minutes. Like that goes to show you the feats of Gear 5. The fact that because we saw this in the past, Luffy could barely damage the admirals back when we fought back in the Marineford arc. And even then, he still struggled to defeat them, right? Or even make them, somewhat tough to beat, right? And you even saw how he was even struggling to beat Kizaru in Gear 4, and that was Gear 4 Snake Man, right? And then Gear 5 comes in. Yes, he still was struggling, but he laid out one of his attacks and he's got Kizaru not down for the count, but basically in this moment of stun, like, okay, I need to get a rest break here. Give me 10, give me 15, and I'll be back up on my feet. But that last attack Monkey D. Luffy gave me, that actually got me there, right? So it's crazy to see that Gear 5 can even make the admirals like stutter a bit and just be like, all right, I need it. Now Gear 5 ultimately hasn't defeated Kizaru. The fact that he stunned him and he's down for basically for the time being, it goes to show you how much stronger Luffy is and how much crazy strong Gear 5 truly is. So yeah, we know it took Kaido to the absolute limit, you know, so far it got to the point where it's got Kizaru down. Now, how will Luffy fare against Saturn if he ever gets the chance to fight him? We'll see. Obviously, we know that Luffy's got to eat to get out of the Gear 5 form or the backlash of it, right? So that's the thing, right? But anyways, as this is all going on, everybody's trying to help out, and do what they need to do, try to help save Bonnie, but this weird presence comes down on them and they can't even move. Like Frankie and Sanji talk about how like they want to get up and move, but they physically they just can't. And I'm guessing it's just like this pressure that Saturn's emitting, that it's just like their bodies are maybe overtaken by fear, and it's just not like, and they're petrified, and it's like, they can't do it, right? So there's that. And then that's when we get into the Kuma flashback, right? So We find out, so Kuma ended up being born. He ended up being born to a loving father and a loving mo mother. And we find out that Kuma is a part of this race called the Buccaneer race, right? And we see after he was born, Kuma's father was like telling the doctor, like, hey man, with all like if you could please try to get rid of these records and everything. So we find out that the Buccaneer tribe or the Buccaneer clan, it seems like the world government does not like the Buccaneer clan at all because it seems like they're a hunted clan and they were or a hunted group, and the world government does not support them. You know, we know the world government does not like anything tied more than likely to the Void Century. And it's clear more than likely these Buccaneer people, especially the fact that Kuma's father made a mention to Kuma about how in their clan's history and their heritage, they talked about the sun god Nika. And we know how much the freaking world government, when they hear the name Nika, they're like, yeah, no, that cannot happen. Nope, 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 nope. So, it's clear that the Buccaneer tribe must have ties back to the Void Century, and the world government, they do not like anything that is tied to the world to the void century, to 800 years ago and everything. And they do not like that because they're just like, no, 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 that is bad, bad, bad. Because if the truth comes out and the world knows about it, well then we are not looked as this we are not looked like as saints, right? So that's the thing. But anyways, the doctor is like, don't worry, I got you. I'll make sure that those files are gone and everything, and if anything, tucked away where nobody can find them and find out like what your son's race is. Now we know his father is a Buccaneer. More than likely his mother is a human, just a regular human. But regardless, Kuma still has that Buccaneer blood within him. And the dude is like, you know, for his age, he is a pretty big ass boy. Like he is big, right? He's built big, but you see the time that he's enjoying with his mom and his dad and everything, and they're having a good time living as a family. And then you get the moment where shit gets terrible, right? Eventually, the doctor comes into their church because they're living in this like chapel, right? And he's like, hey, you need to get out of here. The world government has arrived on this island, right? And you guys need to get out of here immediately. Otherwise, if they find you, it's over. But you have it to where the world government shows them they're like, yeah, ha ha ha. You have no chance of escaping. We surrounded this island, no chance of escaping. You're coming with us, right? And the thing is, Kuma's father's like, hey, listen, leave my child and leave my wife out of this. If you need a Buccaneer, if you need somebody who's a Buccaneer descent, take me. Take me. My son has nothing to do with that. My son is completely human. He's got no Buccaneer blood in him. Leave him and my wife alone and let them go. But the world government wasn't having it. They're like, yeah, right, sure. We checked the fucking records, right? So they all end up going and being locked up as slaves in Marijua. Now, Kuma's obviously scared, but they're telling Kuma, like, look, Kuma, it's gonna be okay. It's going to be all right. Some time has passed, and that's when they start to get split apart, right? Kuma's mom ends up being taken away, more than likely, probably to be a celestial dragon slave, for their own bidding, for the celestial dragon's own bidding, because she is a woman. And my best case is we know what celestial dragons do when they see women that maybe potentially intrigue them. They more than likely make them not only their slaves, but more than likely probably AKA a sex slave to them, and then when they're probably done with them, they probably just kill them, and everything, right? Because we saw remember the Sabori Archipelago arc, we saw how that one Celestial Dragon saw that one lady who he thought was hot. I think it was Charlos, right? How Charlos thought that lady was hot, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna make you my new wife, and there's nothing the woman could do about it. Even and mind you, remember, if you remember, that one was actually engaged to be was supposed to be engaged to somebody else. But Charles was like, well, I don't give a shit. You're gonna be my wife now. And he was already thinking of doing like these heinous acts with her. So it's clear that we know celestial dragons, when they claim a woman that they want, realistically, they're only claiming the woman to be their personal sex slave. You'll obviously be a slave, but mostly be a sex slave. So they basically just abuse and use them. And then again, when they're basically done, either they probably kill them or they just like throw them out into fucking prison and just leave them there to die, right? More than likely, that's what happened with Kuma's mom because eventually Kuma meets up with his dad after some time has passed, and that's when Kuma's dad gives him the story of the fact like because Kuma's like, "Hey, where's mom?" And that's when Kuma's father's just like, "Son, your mom is dead. Look, she's in a better place now. She's in heaven now, and that more than likely is going to be a better place for her." And this gets Kuma to be very emotional because obviously, he's hearing and he's a young boy, like he's young, and to hear from his own father like your mom is dead and she's not coming back. She's up there in heaven, in a better place now, and she doesn't have to worry about what she had to go through no more. And that was an emotional moment because you just have it where Kuma's just crying and very emotional. His dad is obviously crying and very emotional. So yeah, but then you get the next emotional moment and shit, even probably one of the most effed up moments in all of One Piece, where you have it where Kuma's with his dad and Kuma's dad is telling him like, hey, look, I know things are not going well and they're not going good, but you got to think about the positives. And there is a positive. And he talks about the fact, like, listen, through our story, through our lineage, there was this warrior by the name of Nika, his sun god Nika. And he fights for everybody's liberation, everybody's freedom and everything. And he tells Kuma about Nika, and he's like, the one thing, our tribe always like to do was this dance to honor Nika, and he does this dance and everything, and he's doing like the drum roll thing, like what we've been hearing in the OST when you hear Luffy go Gear 5, right? The drums of liberation, and he's singing and dancing this drums of liberation song and everything, and Kuma's really enjoying it and he's liking this. And then you get this very fucked up moment where the Celestial Dragon's like, keep it fucking down. Bang! And he shoots Kuma's father in cold blood and kills him right then and there in front of Kuma. And it was even more, and the fact that the anime did a beautiful job portraying this death scene. They had it to where, boom, he gets killed, and the blood from his father splats on Kuma's face as he's like, and then he sees his father dead body laying there and he's like, Dad? 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 And then he realizes his dad is dead. And it's just fucking emotional as shit. And you just have him crying and everything because this poor kid who had nothing to do with the this goes to show you how effed up the world government is. How effed up the world government is. And they have no sympathy for anything that has any whatsoever ties to the world government. Because if you the dude was willing to sacrifice his own self, and he's like, "Hey, I will go. Just leave my wife and my son out of this. They have nothing to do with this. If you want somebody of Buccaneer descent, please take me. I'm willing to go." You know, and the thing is, the virtuous and right thing to do for the world government was just to take away Kuma's father and leave them alone. But they didn't. They're like, no, 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 no. You're all in on it. And it's like they had nothing to do with this. And regardless, they had nothing to do with it anyways. They didn't deserve to be taken away, stripped of their freedom because because one, they were living their regular ass life. They were not messing with anybody. They were just a kind, happy family, and the world government came in, disrupted that immediately. And the fact that Kuma lost not only his mother, but even his father right in front of his face at that young of age, it's crazy. And yes, there are some real life things where, sometimes a kid is at daycare or something like that, and they lose their mom and their dad because they get in a bad accident, or they have a tragic death where it's an unexpected death, and boom, you're without a father or a mother or something else, right? And it was very sad, very, very sad, and everything. We then cut to a place that I bet you anime onlys didn't expect we would be getting. We cut to God fucking Valley. We cut to God Valley. Yes. The same God Valley that has been missing for years in the present timeline, that has just mysterious vanished away. Only thing we heard about the God Valley incident was the fact that Rox was there with his crew. He's creating havoc. Roger and Garp ended up actually working together to take down the Rox pirates. And that was the God Valley incident. And since that God Valley incident, the Rox pirates all disbanded because of their loss. Now, do we get the God Valley incident in its entirety? No, not really. Now I remember when this part was in the manga, I was like, oh my God, they're actually going into the God Valley incident. And that's one of see the God Valley incident, the God Valley flashback, that was it's one of my most like I want to get this backstory. I again, I'm a young dude. I'm like 26, right? But I hope at the end of the day, I see the end of One Piece. I don't have anything, again, knock on wood and cross my fingers, anything premature that kills me, right? I want to see the end of the story. But the number one thing is the two flashbacks I still want to see the most. Actually, three. The three flashbacks I want to see the most is obviously the Void Century flashback, where while we're gonna get everything revealed about what the hell happened, how the world government took over. I want to see the God Valley flashback and everything, see what the hell happened there. And then more than likely, I want to see the flashback in regards to Dragon, and I guess some of anything what else to do with oh, the rock stuff. See how rocks truly looks like that. Those are probably like my 4 or 5-ish type of flashbacks I want to see, right? And stuff like that. So what I mean by we get some bits and pieces of the God Valley incident here, yet we kind of don't see. But this kind of cuts into episode 100 or 1130. So we find out that the world government is holding on God Valley this like calling games type of thing. And basically it's these civilians from these countries and more than and also as well as God Valley, you know, where basically they are basically running for their lives, and they're basically as they got bounties and trophies on their head, and basically these world government members kill these people, and they really realistically they don't stop till they kill them. Now, we see how this thing has been rumored how it's been happening for everything, right? And the thing is, it's fucked up because the world government basically is playing like in some a weird way of fucking Squid Game slash fucking Hunger Games, where it's like, yeah, we're gonna fucking kill you guys. There's no chance of escape. So yeah, we do see a younger version of Saint Figurlin Garling, and he looks a lot like Shanks from the face. From the face, he looks a lot like Shanks. So that's the crazy part. And it's absolute insanity. Kuma is actually on the island there and everything, right? So craziness starts to ensue because you know, the games start to begin and everything. Also, Saturn is there, and Saturn has his eyes keenly in on Kuma because he knows he's a Buccaneer, right? And the interesting thing about Saturn is he looks absolutely no fucking different than how he does in the present. He looks like the exact same way he does. Mind you, this was like 30 plus years ago. 30 plus years ago, this man, Saint Saturn, looks exactly the same like he does in the present. So that only makes the prediction of this guy may be immortal. It makes sense with the fact that he immediately healed the stab wound and the fact that he looks no older or no younger 36 years ago compared to now. More than likely, this dude is immortal. Now, how are Luffy and the other Straw Hats and any other forces gonna deal with immortal beings? I have absolutely no fucking clue. Still to this day, I have no clue how they were going to deal with actual legitimate immortal beings. And there's a few animes that have touched this whole thing of immortal beings. I know one of my most recent examples I know of is Dragon Ball, right? We know Dragon Ball with the Goku Black arc. We know that Zamasu was an immortal being. It didn't matter what Goku, Vegeta, or Trunks could do. They could give this dude killing blows. He fucking comes back. And it doesn't matter what you do. And the fact that there's immortal characters in One Piece, unless there's some way to seal them up, which there has not been any way or anything revealed to where we can seal them. Like, for example, the drive with the Dragon Balls, right? The Like whether they shit, even if you go look at Dragon Ball Z, even though it's a filler arc, in a filler movie, uh, Garlic Jr. was an immortal being. And in One Piece, we don't know if there's like some sort of void, like the dead zone, or some sort of evil containment wave to hold a immortal being in there for basically a lifetime and just throw it in the water and boop, yep. Don't have to hear or see from them again. So if Saturn is more than likely immortal, that means the other five elders are immortal. That also more than likely means that Emu is immortal as well. Because if that's the case, then these dudes might actually be over 800 years old. They may have actually been the last time, like all these individuals, Emu included, may have looked young, was probably 800 years ago. Now, how did they secure themselves immortality? I don't know. Maybe this is a devil fruit ability. Maybe this is their ability in general. Maybe the Void Century of the Ancient Kingdom had something that, it can give people immortality, eternal life, right? Eternal youth if they need it, right? Maybe that's what, when the world government took over, Emu and the elders took over and beat the Ancient Kingdom, right? Maybe this when they realized they have this item that can give us immortality. We can completely rule the world and we don't have to succumb to death. Let's do this. I don't know. Definitely interesting to say the least, right? So, yeah, but anyways, going on into episode 1130, we run into a familiar face that ended up being on God Valley, right? And we actually see Ivankov as a teenager. He actually was there on the God Valley incident, which was absolutely mind blowing. When I read the manga the first time and I saw Ivankov, I'm like, dog, this guy was on the God Valley incident. It makes sense why this is how he met Kuma. We find out like he was a slave himself. It makes the most sense why now it makes sense why he's in the Revolutionary Army, why he wants freedom, and then we also find out like okay, this is how he met Kuma. This is how he came across Kuma, right? And everything got to know him. Then we have a girl that's by his side, that calls her name is Jenny, and she has pink hair And it more than likely is very much clear who Ginny is more than likely is, and more than likely with the fact that pink hair, and we even later see in the later half of the episode, she likes to eat, we can easily tell this is more than likely Jewelry Bonnie's wife. This is obviously going to be Kuma's future wife in the future. Um, but this is clearly Jewelry Bonnie's mother. I think I said wife, my bad. This is clearly Ginny is clearly Jewelry Bonnie's mother. The pink hair obviously is more than a dead giveaway, but the fact that she was scarfing down food like we saw that we know that Bonnie likes to do because she loves to eat food, there you go. So for ladies and gentlemen, you're introduced to Ginny, obviously Bonnie's mother right there then and there, right? So yes, but anyways, they're basically running and everything, and they stop in this one area, and there's even these other civilians, right? And these other civilians like, what are we gonna do? We just gotta find a way to escape and live long enough to, maybe outlast these people. And Ivankov was like, he starts laughing. He's like, please outlast them, man, please. I heard about these things that the world government does. They're not, when they have these games happen, you think that they're going to let somebody live? No, 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 no. They're going to kill each and every one of you people. And they're going to make sure they leave no body unturned. So Ivankov is basically saying, it doesn't matter what the hell. You could be the last person standing and they'll still kill you. So regardless, we are not going to get out of here alive. We're more than likely going to die. And the thing is, this island is surrounded by Navy ships. There is no way of escape. So, that's when they come up with a plan of like, okay, here's the plan. Apparently, I heard rumors that they're holding these two very powerful devil fruits. And if we can get a hold of this devil fruit, we can be able to find a way to escape. They make a mention of one devil fruit. One we know is the pawpaw fruit, which we see, but the devil fruit that Ivankov is talking about is they have the devil fruit that Kaido has. Yep, they have, I forgot what it's called, but they have that dragon devil fruit, the Azure dragon, right? So that was another big revelation. The fact the world government had Kaido's devil fruit on this island, there's that. Now, you do get some interesting things happening. We do cut over to somewhere else, like this gigantic freaking pool party, these babes around, and you see a much younger Garp 30 years ago, right? And Garp is like, please, I'm not going to deal with the freaking world government. I'm not going for their stupid fucking game. I don't give a shit. But then when the person's like, well, apparently I'm hearing rumors that Goldie Roger is going to be showing up. And at this point in time, we know that, sh I almost call him Shanks. That Garp has a rivalry with Gold Roger and he's been trying to catch him. And he's like, wait, Roger is going there? And he's like, okay, fine, I'm gonna be right there. I will be there. Because that's the thing which is funny, right? So as the craziness ensuing, the Navy looks back and they see their ships starting to get destroyed. And the ships are basically being destroyed, and a pirate ship floats on in, and it is the Rock's pirates. Now you hear the voice of more than likely is Rock. We don't see his design. We don't see what Rock's looks like. Again, we'll probably get a backstory of Rock's, right? Rock's basically like, come on, crew, we need to go and do this and everything, right? And you just have it to where you get several members of the Blackbeard crew. We've already know. We see Whitebeard there, and Whitebeard's like, huh, you can't order us around, Rocks. You need to stop getting ahead of yourself. Whitebeard's there. You see the Golden Lion Shiki. Yes, Shiki. Again, and for people who are still living under a rock, yes, Shiki was a part of the Rock's crew. Yes, if you're looking at the movie Strong World, um, yes, it's a non-canon movie, but um Shiki, the Golden Lion, is an actual canon character in the One Piece series, right? There's that, it is clear cut. He's a canon character. So you see Shiki there. You see Big Mom in her prime heyday and everything. When I guess you want to say she was hot, with the typical One Piece girl looking body before she became fat. There's that. It's clear we see Zeus in her hands, not Zeus, my bad. Prometheus in her hands. So she's already got her devil fruit ability right then. You then see Kaido, who's like, Roro, Roro, Roro. I hear that freaking Roger is coming, and basically Big Mom's like, "Hey, don't worry about him. That's none of your business. You don't need to worry about that, right?" And basically Kaido's like, "Oh, shut up, Lin Lin. I don't take orders from you." And this is clearly, and this is also Kaido at a younger age too, right? And I guess in a weird way, Big Mom was always looking after Kaido, making sure he doesn't cut up, right? Then you get a shocking thing right then and there. You see a pirate empress, and it's Gloriosa. If you don't know who Gloriosa is, she is the old lady that was the previous pirate empress before Boa Hancock became the pirate empress, right? And you see Gloriosa right there. And the fact that you find out that this old woman we know today was in the Rocks crew. A pirate empress was in the Rocks crew and was an official pirate. One, does that particularly mean one or two things? Does that mean Boa Hancock will eventually set out to sea? We know the issues that happened, the fact that the world government raided Amazon Lily. Does this potentially mean um will Boa Hancock come out to sea? And will Gloriosa say, like, hey, listen, with shit getting crazy, I think it might be best you go join a pirate crew. You know that Monkey D. Luffy you're so fond of? I think you should go join him. Especially with the fact that Rayleigh um and Shockey can't do this alone, right? So the fact you see that Gloriosa was in the Rocks crew. Maybe she gives the inspiration to Boa Hancock and say, like, hey, look, shit in this time era is getting fucking crazy. You're a part of this next new generation. I think you need to go join Luffy and his crew. Go find him, go be a part of his crew, like I was a part of the Rocks crew and everything. I'm just doing headcanon. It would be crazy if Boa Hancock were to go out to sea, find Luffy, and say, Luffy, I'm officially joining your crew. Now I don't think that's gonna happen. I do think Boa Hancock is gonna be a part of the end game of One Piece, clearly, right? But more than likely, I don't see her being in the Straw Hat and maybe being a Straw Hat member. But hey, if she's a part of the Straw Hats, that's another strong Arsenal character. That's another character that they have. She kind of has an alliance with the Straw Hats regardless. So I guess you can add her to the quote unquote Straw Hat fleet, right? That's amongst the other people, right? She's technically an honor. She's technically a member of the Straw Hat fleet, right? Because she has a connection with Luffy. But if Boa Hancock were to join the Straw Hat crew, that would be wild. They would have like two former warlords of the sea. You have fucking Zoro. You have fucking you have Sanji. We know Robin is a lot stronger than she is with that Demonio floor. Clearly, Luffy is OP as shit with his Gear 5. Just imagine you add that to Luffy's crew, and she's immediately on the crew. Now, my personal, hope, I hope she joins the crew because I'm seeing this. I'm like, Gloriosa was a part of the Rocks crew. Hey, maybe there is a tiny bit of hope that maybe she tells Boba, like, listen, just go join his crew. It's clear that you love him and everything. So, yeah. And then we also know because we know that Shaki was a pirate empress, and she actually left Amazon Lily because she went to go follow Rayleigh because she was in love with Rayleigh. Um, the same thing I'm guessing here with Gloriosa. Um, she and also here's another thing. We see on the back of Whitebeard, Miss Buckingham Stussy. We see Stussy, Miss Buckingham Stussy. And if you remember in the present time, um, obviously she is the self-proclaimed wife of Whitebeard, with her son, I keep forgetting his name, right? And if you remember from the present, she basically asked, Marco, hey, I need you to go save my son, please. It's, you know, I know you're a part of Whitebeard, and if anything, you owe me something, right? Um, so this is her in the past, and which more than likely means the Stussy that we're seeing now is a clone of the original, right? Is a direct clone of the original, more than likely, right? And the fact that, okay, what the hell? Now maybe the thing is, and it's kind of seems like Gloriosa and Buckingham Stussy were bickering with one another. Maybe there's a thing that maybe Gloriosa was had feelings or fell in love with Whitebeard, and they were kind of butting heads about it and stuff like that, because clearly you can tell like they don't like each other, right? Um so maybe they were butting heads. Maybe Gloriosa was infatuated with Whitebeard. Eventually, she probably more than likely gave up on that and went back to Amazon Lily. Probably more than likely after the Rocks Pirates disbanded. Makes the most sense. Um, and then you see, I think Captain John there. Captain John, he was there. But you have basically these headliners from the Rocks crew right then and there. Eventually what happens is we see to where Roger, well, alongside Rayleigh and then Scopper Gabon, they're all there, they're ready to go, and everything. Garp and his men are there, and they're showing up. You have to where Garland's looking in on this. He's like, we gotta freaking take care of this shit. So all the chaosness that's happening, you have it to where Kuma and Ivankov, they go after the devil fruits. They find the two devil fruits, which is the pawpaw fruit and then Kaido's devil fruit. They're like, okay, great. All we gotta do is eat them and we'll gain the powers. Then out of the blue, Big Mom shows up and she's like, that was a close one. I can't have you having those, eating those right there. And she basically slams Ivankov, and Ivankov's like, Kuma, run, get out of here now, eat the fruit and run. And basically, Big Mom's like, hey, give that to me right now. And Kuma's just like petrified, and Ivanka's like, run, Kuma, because he holds onto Big Mom's leg and he's like, get out of here, Kuma, eat the fruit and go. So Kuma's runs, he ends up eating the pawpaw fruit, right? He feels the change in his personality. Um, because of this, Big Mom is fucking pissed. She's like, "You damn brat!" Slams freaking Ivankov into the wall, but she takes Kaido's devil fruit. So more than likely, this adds on to the fact of, because you remember in the Wano arc, Big Mom's like, "Listen, I did you a favor. I looked after you. I gave you the power that you got." So more than likely, this explains why Big Mom said, I owe you. I helped you out, Kaido. It's clear that Big Mom gave Kaido the devil fruit to have the dragon, powers and everything, right? So there's that. It also shows you that Big Mom actually, more than likely, at that point in time, genuinely did care about Kaido and actually looked out for him. So there's that. But as Kuma's running away, he then gets confronted by Saint Saturn. Saturn uses that ability that knocks you down instantly. Kuma, yes, is he gets damaged because of it, but he gets back up and he's like, "Are you an important person?" And you just have it where Saturn is just like, yeah. And then boom, we flash forward, and Ivankov, Ginny, and Kuma are back on Kuma's former home in the church hall. And that is it of the God Valley backstory. Now, when I got this reveal, I was fucking pissed. I was like, you're fucking kidding me. We get all this way to the God Valley incident, and then Oda's just like, no, 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 no. You're not getting that yet. We can't reveal everything. Not everything just yet. No, 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 sorry. So, for anime only people who are thinking we're gonna get the full God Valley Black story and that had ties to Kuma, nope, 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 nope. No, we're only getting Kuma shit. God Valley will, I guess, come at a later point in time, sadly. Sadly, right? So Ivanka's just like, hey, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go out to sea and go set my on my own journey. I hope to see you again. It was a very pleasure meeting you. Basically, you have it to where Jenny tells Ivanka like, hey, I'm gonna stay here with Kumachi. Um, and everything, and I'm gonna be happy here and maybe find something what I want to do. And Ivanka's like, hey, that's great. I hope to see you guys in the future, right? And you just have it to where Guinea, and again you get your happy moment. Guinea and Kuma, they're living together, you know, as a nice, adorable, I guess you can say family, because that's what they are now. And she protects Kuma from from these boys that were basically attacking him and everything and stuff like that. And we see that Kuma, our Guinea, is being a good protector to Kuma. But you do get a moment near the end of this episode where, she gets emotional and she's like, Kuma, and she starts crying, right? And Kuma starts get crying and everything because he's like, "Hey, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay." And then Kuma starts flashing back to everything, he's been through, um, dealing with his loss of his mom, his dad, basically recalling everything he had to fucking endure with to finally escape the clutches of the world government. They both have this emotional moment crying together, and that's basically kind of where the episode ends right then and there. And next week, we are going to get a time skip where we see a much older Kuma and Jinny, but at the same time, we see in the next episode preview, um, shit gets crazy, and it seems like the more the bad times will happen. But yes, so. Yeah, but overall, these past two episodes of the Kuma backstory were freaking amazing. It was fantastic. I enjoyed it, and I can't wait to continue to see more of it. It's crazy, right? And then one more thing to get out of here before I get out of here. I also find it crazy with the God Valley situation. So the God Valley thing is the fact that it disappeared. Now, again, we'll probably find out what happened with God Valley when we get to that point. But I've seen people throw this theory out, right? And people threw this theory of the fact of what if the reason why God Valley went away, because remember, God Valley is in the West Blue, right? And it's funny, I was watching a Totally Not Mark's review about the Egghead arc, and he predicted, and a few other people predicted, what if God Valley is what we call Thriller Bark now, right? And we know the Floridian Triangle that was in the West Blue and it migrated to the East Blue, right? And that's how, it managed to, get into the East Blue. Luffy ended up getting into it, the Floridian Triangle, and that's and this Floridian Triangle holds where God Valley, the remains of what is left of God Valley, and that's Thriller Bark, right? And the thing is, it makes more sense with the fact that there was like this culling games, and we see in the Thriller Bark arc how there was skeletons and ghouls popping out of graves and everything. There was more than likely a lot of dead people there, right? More than likely a lot of dead people. So this best theorizes the case that God Valley more than likely was Thriller Bark. So the Straw Hats have technically been to God Valley. And this is God Valley, basically a wandering island on this ship. And essentially, the dead souls that were there that were basically brought back in animated life through Moria, that's what we see there. Which is absolutely crazy if that ends up becoming revealed that God Valley is actually, or Thriller Bark is actually God Valley. And if that's the case, man, it's one of those arcs where you look back on where it's like, okay, God, Thriller Bark was cool. It was all right. It doesn't mean in this, the grand scheme of things, from the being outside of Brook and ever and a few other, portions of that story of that arc. But if it ends up being revealed that Thriller Bark all this time was God Valley, man, you're looking back at Thriller Bark a lot fucking differently. It's like how people now look back at Sky P after everything that's fucking happened, right? It's just like, okay, bro. So the Straw Hats went to God Valley. That's the thing. And I always predicted, like, oh, maybe God Valley is going to be the final, battle place of this story, right? You know, it was a big battle piece years ago. It's gonna be another big battle piece again, and I thought like God Valley could be like this thing, this island where it's sunk to the ground, but then it rises up when the time is right or something like that. Well, nope. More than likely, God Valley could be Thriller Bark, or Thriller Bark could be God Valley. So, yeah, man, it's absolutely insanity, bruh. If that had to be the case, but regardless, I've been here long enough. I'm tired. I'm gonna try to hit the hay and call it a night, as well as trying to render these videos that I have to review and everything and get them up as early as I can. But if you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts, hit the subscribe button if you want to get more One Piece content or any other anime content I upload to the channel. Hit the subscribe button and catch you guys in this video. Till then, guys, peace.